When we hear the term economics, we tend to picture charts, graphs, and equations. Now, the idea that economics is about math is understandable. The news talks about GDP and employment numbers. Economists and policymakers talk like astronomers describing the planets, or physicists charting the interaction of atoms. Or sadly, engineers optimizing cogs and gears to get machines to operate more efficiently. But an economy is not made of machines. It's made of human beings. Human beings living in families, communities, and cultures. At its core, economics is the study of human action, specifically how people make choices about goods, services, and time, and how they operate in the marketplace with others. The word economics comes from two Greek words, oikos, meaning family or household, and nomos, meaning law, household law, or household management. Economics is about figuring out how to make a household run well. Now, mathematics has a place in economic activity, but human action can't be reduced to mathematical equations alone. Too often, we forget this, which can lead to dehumanization, treating people as mere resources or objects to be manipulated. As history has demonstrated, economics should never be separated from the human person. Humans are not gears in a machine to be socially engineered for greater efficiency. People are not merely human resources or human capital to be arranged for higher productivity and output. If we want to think clearly about economics, we need to have a good understanding of its central focus, the human person. The human person is unique and unrepeatable, created with reason and freedom, with hopes and dreams and fears, born into a family, a member of a community, and part of a culture. Humans are not simply means to an end, but ends in themselves. We are not objects to be manipulated, but subjects to be respected. So before we do anything else, let's take a moment to think about what it means to be a human being. Let's take a step back and rehumanize our understanding of the human. First, human beings are rational. We can analyze situations. We can solve problems. We can invent new things. It's important to remember that rationality is not just limited to the empirical or technological. Reason permeates all we are and all we do. It gives us the capacity to reflect and discover meaning. It gives us the capacity to love, to show mercy, and to create beautiful music and art. Second, human persons are free. While we are influenced profoundly by our culture and environment, we are not determined by it. We can make free choices for good, for truth, for serving others, or for evil. Freedom and reason give us the capacity to work together, to create and build things. They also make us moral agents responsible for our actions. It's also important to note that freedom is not simply the raw exercise of our will. If someone purposely banged his head against a wall, we wouldn't say, "Wow, he's free," because an irrational will is not a free will. Authentic freedom must always be informed by reason. A third characteristic of being human is that we're social beings. Each of us is a free, unique, and unrepeatable person with dignity and purpose. But this does not mean we are lone rangers. We're born into families and cultures, into languages and traditions. We weren't created to be radical individuals or cogs in a machine, but as distinct persons made to flourish in relationships. The fourth characteristic is that we are embodied persons. Because we are persons, we are not simply material, yet neither is our personhood radically separate from our material bodies. We don't drive around in our bodies like we drive around in our cars. Similarly, if I punch you, I wouldn't say, "Sorry, my body hit you." No, we're integrated beings, embodied persons. A proper understanding of our embodiment helps us understand every human interaction, from marriage and family relationships to political and social relationships. And of course, Because we're embodied persons living in a material world, economic relationships always come into play. The fifth characteristic is that we are good but imperfect. The human being is good and capable of great nobility, but we are also capable of profound evil. We can easily use our reason and freedom to steal, to satisfy our desire for power, money, and pleasure, and our greed can lead us to exploit and use people. As Lord Acton put it, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Recognizing this truth helps us understand a number of things, from the role of incentives in economics to the need for justice and the rule of law. It also helps us resist utopian political or economic systems that promise to make everything right. The sixth characteristic is that we have an eternal destiny. This world is good, and we are made to flourish in it, but it is not our final end. We have a spiritual, transcendent destiny that goes beyond the material world. As C.S. Lewis reminds us, we've never met a mere mortal. Our lives on this earth are just the beginning, like a dot on a timeline that never ends. Now we want to make the dot the best it can be, yet we don't want to live merely for the dot. All of our decisions, including our economic ones, need to keep this eternal destiny in mind. So to recap, the human person is rational, free, social, embodied, good but imperfect, and with an eternal destiny. Now, each of these characteristics is complex and even mysterious. So what do they have to do with economics? Since the primary subject of economics is the human person, well, everything. The fundamental problem with modern economics is that it often forgets about the complex nature of the human person. Many economic theories reduce man to one element, homo economicus, economic man. Indeed, man is economic, but that's only part of our nature. Our economic dimension can't be detached from our personal dimension, our social dimension, or our moral dimension. Economics, separated from the human disciplines such as theology, philosophy, sociology, psychology, and ethics, just doesn't work. Humans are the ultimate reason for economic activity. We are not merely objects or means to some other end. Human persons are the subjects, the protagonists at the center of the entire economic story. In the end, all economic systems are based on a particular vision of the human person. If we get the person wrong, we get economics wrong. Now, this doesn't mean economics is easy. In fact, our relationship with the material world is difficult, and we make errors all the time. But when we understand the human person as a protagonist, created by God with capacity and dignity, and a moral agent with a free and creative nature, it changes the way we think about trade, business, profit, and economics.